Yes, people, welcome back to another tactical analysis. Today we'll be analysing Arsenal 2, Fulham 2 in match week 3 of the Premier League. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Rami from the Stats Optic. Welcome.
Good to be here, back again for another week. Fortunately, not on a high, but it's okay.
Yeah, not the best result, but of course, Rami's socials will be in the description. His Twitter and Instagram, the Stats Optic, where he reviews a lot of football games, gives the in-depth analysis. So let's get straight into it. So heading into the game, here's some pre-match form. So Arsenal were the favourites. I don't think that was rocket science to believe that. 2.2 goals per match heading into this game, whereas Fulham only averaged 1.3.
Yeah, I mean, we historically score a lot of goals compared to Fulham. I mean, Fulham in comparison concede more than they score. So off the bat, really, we're having an advantage just on pre-historical data under Arteta. But I mean, it showed that at home our form isn't as good. We failed to score first in the last 3 games. We also saw that stat that came out yesterday that in the last 3 games Arsenal have conceded in the first minute to the last 3 teams. So not on a great start, but yeah, history and stats favours Arsenal in this run-up. I think in 31 games, Arsenal haven't lost to Fulham.
Yeah, you're 100% right. That exactly the stats you were saying is in the past nine matches at the Emirates, we've conceded in the first minute of 3 of those occasions. So 1 in 3 matches, and that's just plain not good enough. I saw another stat that said on average there's 4 goals at the Emirates, right? And that's not 4 goals for Arsenal. That's just plain out 4 goals. And Arsenal not winning games 4-0 at the Emirates consistently enough. We're conceding too many goals at home. That's 3 goals now in 2 games at the Emirates this season to Nottingham Forest and Fulham. And that's plain not good enough, right? Because you can't just keep starting games on the back foot. Let's get into the analysis of the game. So this, as we all know, when Arsenal conceded straight away from minute 1. What was the problem here?
I think the issue is we had players right out of position. Partey, as you can probably see, he's right into the center of the pitch. And what happened was the game developed where the pass was made from Ben White into Saka. And Saka passed back with a really heavy touch. And the space that was occupied, you can see there's a really large gap where Andres Pereira just ran into and took the ball. That space is meant to be occupied by Ben White, and Partey's supposed to be in that right side when we're trying to build out from the back. But the issue here was miscommunication. Partey decided to be inverted, left the gap, and now they've capitalized straight away off the bat. So if there was someone there where Ben White or Partey should have been, we would have completely been okay. But yeah, first action, first mistake, as I said.
Exactly, yeah. And everyone's been calling for Partey to not be at right back, pretty much every single Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
And look what happens. The first action of the game, Partey inverts into midfield. The right back spot's vacated. Ben White, who's the right centre back, comes over to his normal right back position where he's been playing the whole of last season. Saliba can't rotate quick enough. Same with Kivior. And look, I think this was planned by Fulham as well, because they knew as soon as Saka picked up the ball, Andres Pereira is sprinting right to try and close off and basically wall Arsenal in. And he gets the ball. Obviously, Ramsdale's scrambling back to his line, and he gets beaten at his near post. It's just an absolute calamitous start, man. Just all over the place.
Fulham did well with the press. I think all game really as well. We'll get into it, but I think here where I developed the triangle, you can see that 3 players are surrounding Bukayo Saka on his first touch of the game in the first minute. And so it doesn't leave him enough space to really get out. And yeah, I think it just in general, high press, not enough time on the ball, bad positioning, all led to just a bad start.
100%. As then we started to develop into the game that we did grow into. Obviously, it's never ideal to start on the back foot 1-0 down.
Yeah.
But we did start to grow into the game. I do believe that from 1-0 down onwards, we were dominating the majority of possession. Obviously, Fulham had a few chances. I remember Raul Jimenez almost scored a crazy half bicycle kick, scissor kick action. But other than that, it was all us.
Yeah. I think, look, you can see really here that Fulham came compact. What they saw, and I think what they really saw even in the Nottingham Forest game, was teams that sit back against us and are compact in the 90 minutes straight do pretty well, but we're able to break them down eventually. And we broke Fulham down eventually. And really what was our Achilles heel was we were unable to have good concentration at the back, stay strong at the back, stay compact. We lacked that ability to see the game out. And I think it comes down to complacency, unprofessionalism at home, really. taking it a bit too easy. We saw that last season. Our home form was not as good as our away form. We had 9 clean sheets at home compared to 11 away, which is really a bit different compared to how it should be to a standard season. So yeah, Fulham came, they stayed compact, 4-4-2, 4-5-1. They, depending on how we would play, who would invert, they kept the distances. What I really wanted to highlight was with the yellow arrows was just the distances between the midfield and the defence. It allows less space to operate. And I think we did unlock it really well by shifting the ball side to side. We would see Ben White play the ball across into Trossard or into Martinelli, depending who's playing furthest out wide. And it allowed us to create 1v1 scenarios. But after that, I think we just lacked that extra finishing touch in the first half.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say exactly the same thing. We come up against a lot of 5-backs usually, and that allowed us to have a little bit more space in the middle, because obviously they'd give up a man in midfield or a man up front to obviously have the extra width. But against Fulham, the back four, we did very well to use the diagonals out to right and left.
Exactly.
The problem was our output from the wings was not good enough, and we didn't have enough space in the middle. That was our problem. It was only really when Fabio Vieira came onto the pitch and added an extra creative midfield alongside Ødegaard that we were able to have a link up down the left-hand side. And obviously, that's where both our goals came from.
I think, with the 3-2-5 that we're trying to operate with, the diamond in midfield, we end up lacking right now in our dynamics on the left side. Dynamics have been disrupted. I feel like Martinelli, Havertz, and it was really Kivio, haven't really been able to gel quite well in games at the start of the season. And I think that's at the expense of using Partey as a right back to invert, because we are so desperate to have an extra midfielder, to have an extra attacker to go forward. And what's happening here is now both sides of our flanks have just been disrupted. We're not seeing the fluidity that we saw last season. So I think when Zinchenko is fully fit to come back in, we'll see Gabriel come back in. But I think a lot of fans really want to see Gabriel in now. Yeah,
100% agree with that. So next, the Phillies capitalised on chances created, because there were some very good chances in that first half. I think about Havertz having one where Saka headed it back across goal and he just couldn't put a boot on it. Another chance where Saka whipped it across goal and Havertz just decided to stand still by the penalty spot. The chances were there. I do agree with Arteta. I don't believe that in the sense that he said we could have scored 6-7 goals. I think he was being a little bit extra. He was too confident with that one. But I do believe we created chance. I think our XG was almost 3 by the end of the game, whereas Fulham's was 0.6.
Yeah. I think that we created good quality chances. You can create chances, but you have to create good quality ones. XG is made to show the good quality chances made in the box. I think that in the first half, with a more clinical edge on a different day, we would have taken those chances, because we created about 3 or 4 really, really good chances here. We can see here Trossard played the ball right into the box. Leonard didn't come out, penetrated right through. And if you go to the next slide, really what you end up seeing is Saka taking it too early. I think he watched the ball a bit too much, and he wasn't ready in a position to just head the ball in a good place to score, really. And you can see that his body position is completely wrong, taking the ball here, because I think the pace of the ball is perfect. Any other player or any other day, he would open his body up, even with his foot, slide it right across goal. But yeah, I think this just summarised our first half.
Yeah, I think, and the ball took a little nick off Ødegaard, which is probably what put off Saka a little bit. He should still do better. My question is though, when you freeze frame it right here, those 3 players in the box are Saka, Ødegaard, and is that third one Havertz or Martinelli?
Havertz, yeah.
Right, so our striker for this game was Trossard, meaning that if he's gone to left-hand side, Martinelli should be in the box, in my opinion. That's why it's got to a stage where I really want Arsenal to sign a proper, complete striker. Now, they don't have to be the Haaland of the world, because they're very hard to find. But even if it is an Ivan Toney or an Evan Ferguson, someone that can play that striker position by trade. Because I think not including Nketiah in the starting lineup today was a mistake by Arteta. And I think he was vindicated in that, because as soon as Nketiah came onto the pitch in the second half, he changed the game alongside Fabio Vieira.
Yep. I think we need to rely on Nketiah a bit more. I think if it showed anything today or game, is that Nketiah is the man to take us as a replacement. And I think that's as far as it goes. But I think the dynamics on the left side was a bit interesting. We saw it was really Havertz, Trossard, and Martinelli rotating between each other. And rotation is good. Having the ability to switch positions, interchange. It's good when there is fluidity. When there isn't fluidity, it looks stiff, and touches are taken wrong, passes are misplaced. Havertz is unable to read the game well. Currently, he's at a slower pace than what we were last season. So really, it's when the players are up to speed and understand where each other will be. It will be done well. But currently, right now, I do not see that.
Yeah, I agree, because as soon as Trossard barely touched the ball yesterday in the first half, whenever he touched, his touch was really heavy, because I think they were playing so narrow, Fulham, that it didn't. The fluidity wasn't really working. When you're playing the back five, I think it works better. But because they were so narrow, Martinelli and Saka were so wide on the right hand side, basically hugging the touchline. Trossard was becoming very isolated, and he's not the type of player that you can play off in an isolated sense. He needs players around him to link off. So I think it was the wrong decision to start Trossard in this game, in my opinion, from Mikel Arteta, to be honest. And he's made a mistake there. I think we have to call it out.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so this was Fabio Vieira coming onto the pitch, and this, I believe, him winning the penalty, right?
Yes.
So this is something that Kai Havertz was not doing at all. He was making runs, but his runs were so. I call this guy like a giraffe, and I don't mean that in a really harmful way or disrespectful way towards him. It's just he's very labored. He's tall and lanky, but there's no urgency about his game. It's just everything's in slow pace and slow motion. It's just very casual. His runs, everything. Whereas when Fabio Vieira came onto the pitch, he had that urgency about him. He had that willingness to run in behind and take people on.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between making runs and opening space. But there is a difference between that and making runs and asking for the ball when you make the runs. And it feels as though when Havertz makes the runs in behind into the spaces, he doesn't offer himself in that role. You see just him just making a run and that's it. Whether that's an instruction or him not willing to take the ball on is a bit, we have to understand that. But I feel like what Fabio Vieira did really well was he came and he demanded the ball. He asked for the ball and he put himself in a position to take the ball on and run at his man. And I think he did really well here. He was operating on both sides of the pitch, really, in the Odegaard role when Odegaard came off and in order to aid Martinelli on the left side. And I think he did really well here to just take the ball, enter a space, and it was going to happen. Fulham were going to make a mistake at some point because we were so dominant, so high up the pitch, and just recycling the ball so often. A chance will be created. And here it was. Fabio Vieira was a man for it.
And also, I really respect the fact that Fabio Vieira took on his man, because I feel like any other player in that position, as soon as Marte passes the ball, he would just not even look and just spray it across the box and just pray that Nketiah or Saka's on the end of it. But Fabio Vieira took his time and decided to take on the man. And lo and behold, as you said, they made a mistake. Slide tackled in, got none of the ball, and we got a penalty from there. And also, what do you think about Saka taking his penalty? Because I have no problem with Saka taking penalties, just like I have no problem with Odegaard taking penalties. But I'm just confused that in 3 Premier League matches, we've had 2 penalties, and we've had 2 different penalty takers, even though both players were on the pitch in both games. That just doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, I think a journalist asked about that to Mikel Arteta, and I think Arteta replied by saying it was an on-field decision made by Odegaard, who really wanted to take it. So I think Odegaard isn't the pen taker. I think Saka will be and continue to be. I think it just at that time, I think he wanted the penalty for one reason or another.
Oh, because I thought it was like I guess a weird thing too, because I've never seen this happen before. But I had the feeling it might be like an away penalty taker and a home penalty taker. Because Saka at home, his penalties have been flawless. He scored against obviously Liverpool last season, Man City last season, United the season before. Yeah. And then obviously away from home against West Ham is when he folded and missed that penalty. So I didn't know whether that was going to be the reason, but I've never heard of that ever happening in football. So that would have been a bit far-fetched.
I think we'll just have to see the next penalty to really know if that's the case. But from what I know, from what I saw at the post-match interview, I think it was just something that Odegaard wanted.
Fair, that makes sense. And also Fabio Vieira making another impact. So this was the second goal. What a cross. That's probably that bit of quality on that final ball, man.
Lift your head up, I think is the key here. He had the urgency. He saw the run and he didn't wait. He didn't take an extra touch. He backed himself to pin perfect pass right into the zone, where it's interesting. If you see an XG, I think I should pull it up in the next game, but the best chances are created right in the box. And the further you get out the box, the lower the XG is, of course.
Yeah.
But he put it in the place where it was dead center. and right in front of the goal where the XG is the highest, you have the best possible chance right now for a striker to score. And yeah, he took it, really.
And as you say, look, the finish was really good from Nketiah. Opened
Great
his body
finish.
up, right foot,
Yeah,
right into the goal.
opened his body right well. I think even the defender did well to try to put him off. But I think Nketiah just had the ability to put himself in front, be more physical, and win the battle. And he scored really well.
Really good goal, exactly.
Yep.
But then this is where it all fell apart. So obviously they got their red card, and
Yep.
I'm thinking at that point, game's wrapped up, game's done. We're 2-1 up at home. Obviously, we've knocked the stuffing out of Fulham, who had a 1-0 lead for so long. We hit them with a misery compiler, 2 goals in a row, 70th minute, 73rd minute. They got a man sent off, but then you do not lock up from a corner.
Yeah.
Before this, though, Zinchenko as well. Why? What was he doing there? It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
No, I don't understand it. I think we lacked the ability to control the game. And it was clear we were on the back burner after that goal. And we lacked the ability just to stay controlled. Arteta made subs, and he brought on Jorginho and he brought on Zinchenko. And the reason for that was just as last game was control the game. But what happened was the back were really leaky. And they made changes as well. They brought on Traore, and it became a bit too complacent. And I think Gabriel should have came on at the end too, because in defence we didn't look as solid. There was a few chances before I was even watching, and I felt like, oh, another corner and it's not looking good. And I had a feeling at this corner something good wasn't going to happen. And yeah, really, this is what happened. And we lacked. He wasn't marked. He was just left to his own devices. Rice wasn't close to him. Kivior wasn't close to him. There was no man marking. It was just zonal.
There was certain decisions that just absolutely baffled me in that game. So if you start with the corner, right, Paulinho doesn't head this. He sweeps it with his right foot in a half volley into the goal, which means if this ball is landed on his foot, that means that someone ahead of him should have headed it away. It's not like it's pinpoint accurate to his head. It's coming down to his foot.
Watching. Yeah, it's just ball watching, which is crazy. But yeah, I think when it comes to back end of the games, if we're not starting Gabriel should be on, because aerial ability, aerial threat, holds the game out well. But here we are.
Exactly. And last year at home, it was 1-1, and Gabriel was one that scored the winner in that 84th minute from a corner. The man has got aerial ability. I think there's a stat somewhere, I don't know if it was last season or the season before, where as a defender he scored the most goals from like set pieces or something.
Yeah, he was.
That's his strength. And if you reverted back to your usual back four of Ben White, Saliba, Kivior, and Zinchenko, which was the back four at the end of the game, then Gabriel has to come in ahead of Kivior. You had an extra substitution at that stage. So I don't have a clue what Arteta was thinking there, to be honest. At the same time, you bring on Jorginho for Ødegaard, then you got to bring on Gabriel for Kivior, in my opinion, because that is proven that you've reverted back to your usual system. But
I agree.
It's lessons learned. Let's just hope we can take it forward. We didn't lose the game. Obviously, a draw feels like a loss, especially at home to a team like Fulham. But we did not lose the game, at least. And Man City won the Premier League drawing to Everton at home. Good. So this is just your safety net. You can't draw any more games to teams like this at home.
Yeah, you'd rather make the mistakes early than when it really matters the most down the line. I feel like Arteta's trying to figure out this new system. We are trying to work a new system in order to be a bit more variable and unpredictable. If teams just start, what are we going to do next? But if it's at the expense of lack of fluidity and, it looks a bit too stiff right now, you have to weigh up the options, which one's best.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's look at the post-match analysis then. So Arsenal, 71% of the ball. Not surprising, really. Fulham, as soon as they went 1-0 up, they were in dreamland. They basically just sat back and absorbed pressure. 11 shots on target, though. Now, that sounds very good. We both watched the game. How many of those shots went straight at Leno?
Yeah.
The brother did not even have to move. He just stood there and the ball came to him.
I think we were saying this on the group chat too. We were like, put the ball in the corners where Leno is weak. That is it. Ødegaard, how many? I think he had 2 shots straight at Leno. 1 shot right above the bar in the second half. He has to do better with that. If he wants to be at the caliber of Kevin De Bruyne, if he wants to be at the same table of Bruno Fernandes, these are the times where he needs to take it upon himself, take those shots, get it on target, and score. And again, cutting edge, we lacked that. Sure, early on in the season, we're still, building up momentum. I'd rather we finish well than end like we did last season. But yeah, it's small things like that. If we want to be able to dominate in the Champions League, dominate in other cup competitions, we want to be able to develop this ability to just finish games off early.
Yes.
And look, compare the game to last season, we did better than we did last season. I think that's a point that Arteta made. We were played better than we did last season. But it's still, the bar is still high, and we still want to compete, and we still want to win games early, which is a good thing to have. But yeah, whether we take it sooner or later is the question.
Yeah, no, I do hear you in that sense. I also do believe, though, that, as you said, if we're playing these cup competitions like the Champions League now, there's no margin for error in those competitions. You can't be having tight games against Fulham, against Forest, against Crystal Palace.
Exactly.
You have to have some kind of an assassin gene, I call it. The ability to just kill off teams, where it's that you don't give them a chance to revive or get back into the game. You just leave them for dead, basically. I feel like we don't do that. We don't have the ability that Liverpool had on Jurgen Klopp a few seasons ago. Man City under Pep Guardiola, where a team would concede 1 goal to them, and then you blink, and then it's suddenly 3-0 and the game's over.
Yeah.
Blitz gene, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to have a better finishing ability, and I think we'll see. We're a young squad, but that excuse can only last so long.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, the man of the match for Arsenal, Fabio Vieira, really good. Like, basically, I think honestly one of his best performances in Arsenal shirt off the bench.
Oh, I think it was the best performance. I think this game, and when he came on in the Community Shield against City, where Arteta changed formation, he came on great. I think he's had a great start. I think he deserves playing time now. I think when a player comes on like this, they earn their right to maybe have a start next game, whether that would be for Havertz or would be for Odegaard. We'll see. It's a big game. We have United next. We'll see. But yeah, he created great chances. 100% pass accuracy. It was amazing for 35 minutes of playing game. He had an assist. Big chance created. And he created some good XG. I think it was expected goals, 0.11 for 30 minutes is quite good.
Yeah, I think he's well as well. Now, I don't think I'd start him against Manchester United just purely because I would revert back to a midfield 3 of Partey, Rice, and Odegaard just for some more balance and stability, just like we did in the Community Shield. But one thing that was also glaring is the fact that we all saw the under-21 Euros, I believe it was, where Emil Smith-Rowe was featuring heavily for England, and many were saying that he's back to full fitness, he's going to get a chance this Arsenal side. Well, you take off Havertz and you resort to Fabio Vieira over Emil Smith-Rowe, the 2 players that have been training that number 8 position, which I think was obviously I'm not the biggest fan of Emil Smith-Rowe. I'm going to be honest, but I think that was a real eye opener that Arteta is going to resort to Fabio Vieira as his second choice rather than Emil Smith-Rowe. And if Fabio Vieira keeps performing like this, you can't say otherwise. I think he really won't.
I think, funnily enough, he has the best final ball in our team. I think that final third pass, I think he has it in his locker. We saw that great ball to Nketiah. I think he had great moments in the game where he was demanding the ball coming on for the final ball. But yeah, I think it's going to be time to tell. I think Emil Smith-Rowe is going to have to earn his right in a cup competition now. If he performs then, stays fresh then, we'll see. I think he has to earn. No place is guaranteed for anyone.
100% agree. So that wraps up this tactical analysis. Arsenal drawing 2-2 to Fulham in match week 3 of the Premier League. 7 points out of 9. It's not ideal, but next week is the big one. Arsenal versus Manchester United. And of course, I'll be back with Rami, the Stats Optic, to review that one on this channel as well. In the meantime, if you are new around here, make sure you subscribe. I'm married to 5,000 subscribers. Check out the Stats Optic. All his socials will be left in the description down below. Anything to say, Rami?
Hope to see you next week on a good note.
Hopefully, and hopefully Arsenal will get another win next week. That's the main plan. Bounce back.
Exactly.
I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I hope to catch you all in my next one. Take care.